Good morning, everyone, and welcome to Soul Wisdom Wednesday. And I am wondering today, do you practice closet spirituality? And what I mean by that is, are you hiding some of your spiritual beliefs given the people around you, whether it's the culture, the society, the workplace, the family? And what is that doing to you as far as alignment or misalignment? You know, with soul health, I talk all the time about how we have to keep aligning our lives for radiant living. We have to keep getting as close to our authenticity, our truth, our self. You know, the soul is the essence of who we are, and we are practicing something that really kind of camouflages who we really are, or derails us, you know, takes us off of that alignment, then that is going to create some health problems, whether it's emotional, spiritual, physical, any of those things. So the reason that I bring this up, excuse me, first time I'm outside, so stuff is in the air. The reason I'm bringing this up is, main reason, I talk to people about this all the time. I've got lots and lots of clients who come in saying that, you know, they've got all these different beliefs from their families or their workplaces or kind of from their upbringing, and they don't know what to do with them because the fact that they don't feel like they're living in their truth. I'm also, in about a month, doing a workshop for the Charlotte AHEC, which is Area Health Education Center, for healthcare providers, for the changing beliefs and how we can ethically, as healthcare professionals, really attend to the fact that there are lots of changing beliefs, and what do we do to help people with that? And excuse me. And so, you know, there's just lots of research out there that shows that not only are beliefs changing, but that there's a lot of closet spirituality out there. So there are several studies that I found over the last couple of years as I've been working with folks and preparing for this workshop. But there's several studies that show that at least 30 to 35% of people who claim to be Christian actually believe in past lives, even though that's really not talked about in their religions. Now, if you look in the historical literature, there actually is a lot of evidence that past lives were part of the original Bibles, but that, you know, in 500 AD, give or take, that Constantine, the ruler Constantine, wiped that from the Bible because he was afraid, basically, that if people thought that if they had more than one chance at this life thing, that they wouldn't listen to the rulers, they wouldn't follow the rules, they wouldn't align with what the government said versus aligning with themselves. So these shifting sands, these changes in our spirituality are causing a lot of people to live under the surface, live behind the scenes, and really experience their spiritual lives without being able to share them with people. And what does that do to misalign? So I have a friend who lives in the eastern part of the state, and you know, we talk about spiritual concerns all the time and spiritual beliefs, and obviously they're not traditional in terms of a mainstream church, but as far as past lives and kind of where we all come from and where we're all going and what do we do with it and how misaligning that is for this person, because the people around him basically are very negative toward him. And so it's one of those things where, how in the world do you live in your truth? How do you live in the essence of who you are if you feel you have to practice that a closet spirituality? You know, I have my own stories about this. You know, growing up, we grew up Catholic, and I lived in the western part of the country, which pretty much everybody in the western part of the country is Catholic or Mormon, depending on where they are in the area, and or which part of the country. And it was interesting because the older I got, the more exposed I got to the world. When I went away to grad school and started learning more about different forms of spirituality, some of my family members kept saying, "Oh, you're weird, you're weird," and yet it was very kind of offensive and hard for me, because it was so hard for me to know, okay, this is how I grew up, but I am learning that there are other belief systems, there's other ways to think, there's other ways to do life. And being called weird puts you in your closet. Being called a bad person or a bad Christian or a bad Catholic or whatever puts you back in your closet. And, you know, again, we go back, it's all fear-based. People are so afraid to have people challenge their beliefs. And so if you have this mass system of people around you and they are uncomfortable with the fact that you have some different beliefs, what are they going to do? They're going to chip away at you. But on a grander scheme, what does that do to your soul? What does that do to your human life? Can you lead an aligned life if you have to, or if you feel like you have to practice that closet spirituality. Now, I say this left and right. I am not a typical anything. And so I'm sure some of my colleagues think I'm a little strange, or that I actually, when I was doing a workshop 5 or 6 years ago, it was somewhere, I think it was in Alabama or somewhere, one of the comments that I got after as feedback for the workshop I was doing was basically that they thought it was dangerous to think outside of a typical belief system, and that you shouldn't help clients feel comfortable within those belief systems because they have to go mainstream. And I was just kind of shocked that, especially psychological professionals are supposed to be kind of meeting people where they're at and being open to where the person is coming from with their belief system and help them work through it. So, this closet spirituality thing, I think, is probably rampant. And, there's so much research over the last, like I said, 10, 15 years that has come out. But there's a block of research that really wanted to know, why are people leaving mainstream church? And there are several articles from, like, I would say the articles came out like 2012, 2011, or 2011, maybe up to 2015. And the research showed that right around between 2010 and 2012, up to 40% of congregants in churches left because they couldn't handle the belief systems anymore. They couldn't do the rigidity. They couldn't handle the fact that they were being told all these things that didn't fit within their souls, didn't fit. And a lot of those had to do with people not accepting same-sex partners, not accepting biracial partners. And it was all about this stuff that was really sticky anyway, but boy, the religion really came back. But it came back to haunt people, but a lot of people left. So you're seeing more and more community churches and all-inclusive churches pop up, which I think is beautiful, because you don't have to be a closet spiritual believer anymore. But it is still hard to find your troop, hard to feel like you're finding your people or your souls, that your soul tribe that you can hang out with. And the reason I'm doing this particular video is that, it is time, I think, for us to start coming out of the closet in terms of this spirituality, because so many people already believe it, but so few people are willing to kind of step out in some ways, because, there are more and more stepping out, but it's scary. It is scary to say, gosh, I believe in reincarnation. Sorry if you don't. I believe in the fact that maybe we came from a different star system. Sorry about that if you don't believe that. But it's everything that's churning and turning in the world is coming up and being turned over so that a new reality can take place. And I think this closet spirituality stuff is going to be part of that wave, because I think more and more people are wanting to be in their truth and wanting to align, because the most sacred thing that a person can do is align with their souls, which means aligning with spirit, whatever that is for that person. So we have to start looking at our own closet spirituality and ask ourselves, how is this aligning me to stay in the closet? How is this misaligning me? How do I find my people? How do I find my tribe? Excuse me, I hear over and over and over again, both in therapy practice and with friends, that they can't find their tribe. They can't find people to talk about, their beliefs about and really connect with. Excuse me. And I know they're out there, because a lot of them come to me for therapy. A lot of them call for consultations. I've got friends around the country who can talk about this stuff. But I know they're out there. It's just that everybody's closeted. I just tend to be okay with, being more out about this, because it is who I am. And I think it's such an important thing. I do have to admit, when I was getting ready to publish the first edition of Soul Health, I was a little worried about what my colleagues would think, because it's not the beaten track. It's kind of off the beaten track of how to conceptualize life and how to really look at the soul as the most precious part of who we are, because we tend to look at the mind as the most precious part of who we are. But to me, it goes much deeper than that. And when you talk about the soul, you're going to have to talk about some pretty expansive belief systems that are out there. So I would love to hear from you, and again, this might bring you out of the closet if you make comments, but I would love to hear from you about your experiences, or your experiences in your own coming out process, or watching people, or your own awakening to other ideas and beliefs, because I think this is such an important time for us to really start getting in our truth about this, because our connection with spirit is the most important connection we'll ever have other than our own soul. So I would love to hear from you. Love to hear your stories. Love to hear your own awarenesses or your awakening stories, which are really interesting and fun to hear, because I think this is a time to do it. So for healthcare professionals, if you're interested, the workshop, I believe, is on the 19th of September, 19th or 20th, whatever that Friday is. You can go on my website to find the information, www.Dr.KatherineT.Kelly.com, or you can go on the Charlotte Ahek website and look up Shifting Sands of Spirituality, and it'll come up. And also, if you want to contact me otherwise, just go ahead and go to my website, and there's a contact form on there. But we'd love to hear what your own stories are about how you are coming out or have come out with your own spiritual awakening. So I hope you have a wonderful day, and I will talk to you again soon. Bye-bye.